the workers stay enslaved. I spent the day in bed. I'm not my type, but I love my bed. And I recommend that you stop watching the news, because the news contrives to frighten you, to make you feel small and alone, to make you feel that your mind isn't your own. I spent the day in bed. It's a consolation when all my dreams are perfectly legal in sheets for which I paid. I am now late and I read.
What's going on, everybody? This is Derek once again. It's still June 15th, 2018. That song I opened the video up with is called Spent the Day in Bed by Morrissey. And in the song, he tells you not to trust the news, because the news contrives to frighten you. This particular story may not be frightening anybody, but it's deception nonetheless, and just based on the correction that's required of this global awakening, we have to explain what they're doing to fabricate these news stories. This man, Paul Manafort, is an actor. He's not really going to jail. He's not really in jail. This is a big story of bullshit. And all of our politicians, at least the ones very high up on the chain, like Trump and Manafort, these men are actors. They are playing out their role on the world stage, and it's all part of a numeric riddle. The numeric riddle I discuss has to do chiefly with the language of Gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words. And it's a very simple practice. You're looking at the 4 base ciphers, where you assign a number to each letter relative to its position in the alphabetic order. You can also reverse the alphabetic order. Z is 1, Y is 2, through A is 26. The reduction methods take every double-digit number and reduce them to a single digit. This is called Pythagorean Gematria. And it's another significant form. We're going to look at these. We're also going to glance at English and Jewish Gematria. And these ciphers actually more closely mirror the ancient Hebrew Gematria and Greek isopsephy charts, numbered 1 through 9, 10 through 90, and 100 through 900. So, Paul Manafort sent to jail today, or so we're told. Well, I'm going to explain how this news was fabricated by the numbers. And before I even look at the gematria of these words or the dates on the calendar, because that's what this practice is. It's a combination of letters and numbers, and then aligning these with dates on the calendar. Well, what I want to point out that's really strange about Paul Manafort's Wikipedia page right now, if you go there, at least at this very moment, who knows how long this will really be here, but the picture they have of Paul Manafort is from 1976. Ask yourself, why would a man who's alive today, who's in the national spotlight, have a photo from way back in 1976 here in 2018? Doesn't make much sense. This is 42 years ago. Well, this all has to do with the fact that he was sent to jail today. In the language of Gematria, in the reverse alphabetic order, jail equals 76. This is where we start with Z, number it through A. So J, which is normally the 10th letter, is the 17th here. And add all these numbers up, you get 76. Paul Manafort was born on April 1st, 1949. And if you measure from today's date, June 15th, 2018, to Paul Manafort's most recent birthday, it's a span, this is when we include the end date, of 76 days. So this man sent to jail 76 days after his birthday. The word jail equals 76. And, you know, just to exercise this knowledge, because Wikipedia is a Masonically controlled public encyclopedia. You know, I guarantee if you try to edit this page and you're not approved or you're not part of their community, it's going to get written over. I've done this myself, trying to help expose this information, and it's gone within a minute. So this is why they have a picture from 1976 up on Wikipedia. Also, the 76th prime number is 383. Paul Manafort was Donald Trump's campaign chairman. Campaign chairman in English extended sums to 383, the 76th prime number. Oops. And Paul Manafort and Donald Trump are two men who are connected numerically almost to a comedic extent. First of all, just looking at the alphabetic order alone, the name Trump equals 88. The name Manafort also sums to 88. Paul Manafort equals 138, and 48 reduction, also 589 in Jewish. How about this 849? I think this might even be in the gematria of Trump as well. Let's check. It is. Donald Trump has the same gematria in these four ciphers, or English ordinal, full reduction, English extended, and Jewish gematria. I assure you, the odds of this are incredibly low, and the fact that this man is, what was one of the closest men in to Trump during his campaign, as he was the campaign chairman, this is no coincidence. They have almost completely identical gematria. There's something else that's interesting about this. Paul Manafort, born April 1st, 1949. If you measure to Donald Trump's birthday, which is June 14th, 1946, their birthdays, both on a Friday, are exactly 146 weeks apart. Trump's birthday, June 14th, it's the 14th day of the 6th month. This date, internationally, is written 14/6 in most parts of the globe. In another cipher we'll glance at called prime numbers, this is essentially English ordinal, but it uses associated prime numbers. The word for time equals 146, and just as the thumbnail of the video says, this is a Saturnian ritual. Now, Saturn is the keeper of time, so this 146, very relevant. The planet Saturn, again, think about the moon and Saturn. The moon is the closest celestial object to the Earth in the sky. Saturn is the furthest one that we can see with the naked eye, excluding stars, of course, and all those other things. But in our solar system, Saturn is the one that's furthest away that can be seen. So Saturn in Jewish gematria equals 511. Now, Donald Trump began his campaign in June of 2015, exactly 511 days before the election. Now, from Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2017, Trump's first day in office, measuring to today's date, June 15th, is 511 days. So again, the man who ran his campaign for 511 days by the numbers of Saturn, elected in with the 115th Congress. 115 is the inverse of 511. And now, 511 days later, we're getting this Saturnian ritual. And as far as how this is related to Saturn, I'm going to show you a couple other methods. First of all, we're talking about Trump and Manafort. Trump and Manafort in reduction equals 69 and 93. These are the same two numbers you get when you type in Saturn. Saturn, 93 ordinal, 69 reverse. I'm going to bust open a couple more methods of gematria here, not to confuse people who are new, but these are the large number ciphers where coincidence is less likely. First of all, there's satanic gematria, and this being the most clever cipher, I believe, satanic gematria sums to 666. The 36th triangular number, it starts on 36. And then we're also going to glance at English Sumerian, which is the alphabetic order times 6. And there's a couple of strange alignments when you look at this cipher. Paul Manafort equals 558 in satanic. In Sumerian, Saturn equals 558. Another important cipher is Francis Bacon, and this one takes capital letters into account. You number the alphabet 1 through 26, and then you add 26 for each capital letter, 27 through 52. Very logical, very basic cipher. In this method, his full name, Paul John Manafort Jr., equals 317. And in prime numbers, Saturn equals 317. So again, if this was just one connection, I wouldn't bring these up, but it's across multiple methods and all the significant methods as well. As far as this number 317, we see this stamped into propaganda very frequently, and I'd like to explain why. Take the word lie, L-I-E, like a lie, like a fib, like what the mainstream media does to us all the time. Well, if you flip these letters upside down, you get 3, 1, and 7. So the number 317 looks like a lie. In fact, in Gematria, the word lie flipped upside down, which is exactly how you would say it, sums to 317. Again, they're lying to us. Interesting that this sums to 146. We just talked about Trump's birthday being 14/6, but I'm going to call that a coincidence. This fact that this sums to 317 in ordinal is hard to believe it's a coincidence considering how much it's coded into our news. Earlier in the video, I mentioned how Trump equals 88, and Manafort equals 88. This is a number of Saturn. In Jewish Gematria, Saturn sums to 88. And again, this is the 511th day with Trump in office. We also pointed out how Donald Trump equals Paul Manafort. Well, wouldn't you know, they also have the same middle name. So that means Donald John Trump equals Paul John Manafort. Both of them sum to 185 and 68. As far as this 185, this is another Saturn number. Now, there's a second cipher that uses capital letters. It's called Frank Baconis, on my website at least. I don't really know what this cipher is called, but Zenith and the Alphas was kind enough to share this once he discovered it. Anyway, this one alternates capital and small letters. You start with capital A, go to small a. Some people call this the classroom cipher. Well, using this method, Saturn sums to 185. And again, Donald John Trump and Paul John Manafort taking part in a Saturnian ritual here today. Their birthdays are also connected through Gematria. And the first thing I want to say about this is that Paul Manafort is another junior. And if you follow my work, you realize how many juniors there are in high places of power. It's far more than the average population. In Gematria, the word junior equals 33. This could be one reason, but it's interesting that their birthdays are a little over 33 months apart. Paul Manafort's full name, Paul John Manafort Jr., sums to 213 using the alphabetic order, and their birthdays are 2 months and 13 days apart. Manafort, April 1st, Donald Trump, June 14th. And how about this, too? In English Gematria, Trump and Manafort equals 1,203. This being a practice of numerology, zeros in the result are ignored. So Trump and Manafort essentially, comes down to a 1, 2, 3. These men are separated in their birthdays by 1,023 days, with the end date included. And Manafort was the campaign manager. Campaign manager summing to 123. Now, here's where the news outlets demonstrate their knowledge of Gematria. And what I don't know if they're really trying to clue anybody in or if they're only trying to signal other people who are given this knowledge who need to keep it secret. Me, I fell into this knowledge just by searching for truth. Found the work of Zachary K. Hubbard, who's had 14 channels deleted from YouTube. And so I'm not sworn to secrecy. I can share this stuff with you guys. There may be people who don't like it, but if they don't, they haven't really let me know yet. Maybe they will one day. Anyways, CNN, the headline on their front page read, "Judge sends Manafort to jail." In Satanic Gematria, this sums to 1103, and this is not coincidental. 113, 113, this is the number that's used to convey lies. You'll see all these words on your left side of the screen here, summing to 113 in either the standard or reverse alphabetic orders. The subheadline, meanwhile, read this. It said, Trump's former campaign chairman has his bail revoked while he, I'm butchering this, aren't I, awaits trial for foreign lobbying charges. Now, I did spell this wrong, but same letters. And what I want you to look at is the alphabetic order and reduction. You get this mirror. You get 944 and its reflection 449. Well, if you've been following my work, you know I've been pointing this out as a hoax code because bullshit equals 449. So both of these give us a hint that this is a lie, even if you combine the headlines. And if you think I'm being crazy by going through and, you know, looking at one half of the headline and then second half, trust me, this is what they're doing. And it's every story is like this. Now here in the alphabetic order, we get 1,207. And what this points to is this being a story about the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which sums to 127 in reduction. And the name Manafort is extremely Masonic. First, notice the 308 in Jewish. Also notice the 448 in English Extended. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry equals 308 in Jewish ordinal gematria. This is where we just simply number them 1 through 27 in the order that they appear. And then ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry sums to 448 using the alphabetic order. Manafort, 448, also 308 in Jewish. So this story definitely coded by the numbers. I just found out that there was a shooting today, and this is the kind of thing that gets me kicked off of YouTube, is when we start talking about shootings and how these things are all coded by the numbers. I believe they're all staged. Of course, we are living in the organic matrix. You know, when I talk about things being coded by the numbers, a lot of people, their first question is why? And I don't necessarily have that answer. However, I am willing to state as a fact that we are living in some sort of organic matrix. Some call it a computer simulation. Depends on what type of theory you want to follow. But our world is coded by these numbers. When we are born, when we die, there is a riddle involved. And it sounds crazy, but until you start picking apart your own life and looking at the numbers of your own family, it starts to become very clear. And this is knowledge that's rooted in the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah, based on the belief that God created the world by merging the letter and the number. And that's what's happening. It's not just that he did create the world, but that he is actively creating the world's inhabitants and removing them by this code. So when we decode, you know, it's tricky. We have to sometimes wonder if these are organic things, but I can tell you right away this isn't organic. I mean, look at this, 1130. What did I just get done talking about? The number 113. We know that this number talks about bullshit, and it's amazing how many of these fake shootings begin at 11:30, whether it's AM or PM. It's really quite amazing. They're telling us that one sheriff's deputy is dead, another one is in critical condition. There's probably some alignment with the numerology of the dates with Kansas City and Kansas. So I'm going to take a stab at this live here. You know, sometimes it takes me longer to find the riddle than it does on other days. So this could be tricky. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a separate post on this. For those of you who want to learn more about this, I'm going to go live for my weekly podcast tomorrow at noon Eastern. That's 4 Universal Time. And it's also 9 Pacific Time in the morning. And what I do on my podcast, I go through all the major news stories of the past week, And essentially, how do I get to my blog? So yeah, I mean, I make blog posts pretty much almost every day. And what I'll be doing is covering the news from the 9th through the 16th. I got a lot of blog posts here, all news by the numbers, breaking these down. And I'll leave the link in the description below once this video is finished, so you guys can check out some of these stories. And on my podcast, I spend about 2 hours every week going through these stories, explaining to you how each one is coded by the same letter numbering system, also using dates on the calendar. So I have no doubt, I mean, this 11:30 right here, that's just, the first clue we have. I wonder what Kansas City alone is. Well, here you have it. I mean, we have a date with 32. The life lesson number is 32. I put this date numerology at the top, below the one that excludes the year, but I put this on top for a reason, because it's the most significant. This life lesson number seems to be the primary date numerology, along with the reduced and full numerologies, but no doubt this life lesson number is super significant. And today, a date with a life lesson number of 32. Kansas City in reduction equals 32. So this one's definitely going to be coded. I mean, the news wouldn't make it a news story the same day if it wasn't by this code. Unless they can control the narrative and talk about the history of the shooter, they need it to fit the mold for their agenda. So no doubt this is going to be coded, and I'll be talking about this tomorrow. Before I sign off, I'm just going to drop in the chat. Yeah, just wanted to say hi to everybody who's dropped in on the chat. A lot of people have said some really nice things over the past week or two. I know this, my other channel got really popular back. Am I on my Gematrinator 85 channel right now? No, I'm not. I'm on Derek Ticker. Okay. So I can't live stream on my other channel yet. That's where I put the Anthony Bourdain ritual sacrifice video on. That one doubled in subscribers. A lot of people are waking up to this, because people like Anthony Bourdain, traveling the world, eating the best foods, beautiful women coming to his side. He's not hanging himself on his fucking doorknob. That's craziness. If you believe that, you are disabled, I think. I mean, come on. Who hangs themselves off a doorknob? You can stand up when you're trying to do that. Like, your body won't let you kill yourself by it. It's just insane. So, a lot of people are starting to see that the news is bullshit, and hopefully more people can kind of catch on to this and understand the language of numerology and gematria to help share this information. I do like it that people share my work and help spread the information that way. I would also like for more people to, catch on, start blogs, and do this on their own. I tend to be cautious in telling people to start blogs, because I feel like until you can really understand this and present it in a digestible manner, which I hope I'm getting better at, then we should be careful about what we're spreading here, because there's a lot of people out there spreading a lot of crazy-ass numerology. And, I'm not so sure how many of those people are legit and how many of them are here to make this practice look silly. But, what looks silly is showing a guy from 1976, putting this picture up on Wikipedia. That's pretty silly. But once you understand this language, everything falls into focus. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thanks to all who jumped in and helped share some interesting numbers. Appreciate the love. Keep seeking and speaking that truth. See ya!